Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining today. I'm Philip Huthwaite, CEO at 5app, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Corey Mitchell, Sales Manager at 5app. We also have a support team behind the scenes. I think you may have already met Kaylee in the comments. We also have George and James. So why not say hello in the comments and let us know where you are joining from. The team will be on hand to answer questions throughout, so please feel free to ask a question as it springs to mind. I'm a firm believer that no question is a silly question, so please do use the comments. And we'll also be asking you some questions. You've already seen one of them at least, so stand by your beds and look out for those. This session is about you and your L&D strategy. So just to set the scene for what to expect in the next 30 minutes, we're going to look at what executive teams are really asking of L&D as we approach 2026. Spoiler alert, it is about impact. And we're going to share a simple model that you can use to prove that learning impact. We're going to explore how technology can help you deliver this model in a way that supports both the end learners and also the learning providers. And you have an opportunity to ask questions throughout, but we'll also wrap up with a Q&A at the end. So let's set the scene for 2025 before we look to the future. L&D already owns performance. We know that. What has changed is the level of proof that is now expected. Executive teams are less interested in activity and completion rates, and they're much more focused on questions like, are skills improving day-to-day work? Is learning delivering tangible business impact? And you can see there that the data explains why a lot of those questions are getting louder and louder. You can see there a study from McKinsey and Company that only 8% of CEOs say they see measurable business impact from L&D investments. I'm sure you'll agree with me that that is a significant low level of confidence. As we move down, nearly half of L&D leaders say executives doubt whether employees have the skills needed to deliver a business strategy. Slightly better than 8%, but that's only 1 in 2 L&D leaders have confidence there. And just 15% of employees feel that their organization is helping to build the skills they will need for the future. So we've heard from the executives, we're also hearing from the end employees. They're asking for more. Again, the confidence there is low. So many L&D teams are being asked to answer 2026 questions using tools designed for a very different era. This often means guessing whether learning has landed. It often means relying on post-course surveys. It often means chasing managers for feedback, manually creating content that may no longer be relevant, and running programs that fade after 1 week. To take that example further, learners attend a course and then often there's no potential follow-up. So you lose it. It's a snapshot in time. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not because L&D is failing. It's because up until now, evidence has really been hard to produce. And the bottom study there from the Harvard study makes this gap really clear. While L&D is under pressure to prove ROI, only 39% of us measure behavioral change, and even a smaller number, 22%, measure business impact. So there is opportunity there for 2026, is not to do more learning, but it is to very much prove the impact. And the importance, I'm sure you'll agree, is to be able to improve the impact without adding extra complexity. So let's bring it all together. So we recognize L&D teams are not short on effort. We recognize that budgets are getting tighter. We recognize hybrid ways of working are widening skills gaps between teams rather than sort of smoothing them out, so to speak. And we recognize L&D is being asked tougher questions than ever before, all about value and all about how can we deliver impact. So here at 5app, we're really on a mission to help L&D leaders be heroes in their business in 2026 and beyond. So they can, we've listed them here, stop guessing where the learning is landed, stop relying on post-course surveys, stop chasing managers for feedback, stop manually creating content that may no longer be relevant, and stop running sessions that don't map back to behaviors. Now, none of this, as I've said, is because L&D is doing a bad job. It's because the evidence has been hard to access until now. So the question is no longer how do we do more learning, it's how do we get rid of that noise, how do we focus on the right data and concentrate effort on what genuinely turns the needle for performance. And this is the shift we want to talk about next. So let's introduce the one connected ecosystem. And this is at the heart of what we're sharing today. We're sharing a simple loop, one connected ecosystem. And it starts with the ability to measure what is really happening at work. It moves on to the ability to help people practice and reinforce those skills in real situation. And it moves on to helping you plug gaps quickly as they appear. A connected ecosystem, a connected loop of measure, practice, reinforce. Measure, practice, reinforce. Now, the modules we're going to take you through today, each can work on their own, I must stress, but when they're connected, learning does shift from being an event to being that ongoing performance system of measure, practice, reinforce. Now, that shift is what allows L&D to step forward with confidence and credibility. And we've spoken about a lack of confidence from executives. And this is how you become a hero in the eyes of your colleagues and in the eyes of those executives. So let's look at how each part of that loop works. So in the top right-hand corner there, we've got Helix. And this is what we describe as our measurement layer. It shows how skills actually show up in day-to-day work and how they develop over time. And this moves L&D decisions away from those gut feel and assumptions. Now, the really cool thing is that this can also be plugged into your existing LMS. Obviously, we're biased and we have our own LMS, the Hub, but it can be very much plugged into your existing LMS to measure your own learning competencies and close the loop. So that's Helix there. As we move round this connected ecosystem, in the bottom right, we've got VeeCoach. And this is what we describe as our practice layer. It allows people to practice real workplace scenarios safely in the flow of work with immediate feedback. As we move around the connected ecosystem, the Hub, I've already referenced this. This is our learning reinforcement layer, our learning management system, where self-paced learning takes place. And the insights from Helix, the practice from VeeCoach, and the content from VeeCreate, which I'll introduce in a moment, all flow through the Hub. And last but not least, in the top left-hand corner, we have VeeCreate to close the loop. This allows learning teams to create or adapt targeted content quickly, aligned to real skills gaps as they appear. So you no longer have that usual time lag between receiving the insights and putting plans into place to deliver against the insights that you've discovered. So individually, each component solves a real problem, and together they give you that continuous loop to measure, practice, reinforce, and improve. And I think a picture certainly does paint 1,000 words. So I'll hand over to Corey to show you how it all works.
Thank you very much, Philip. I should just say this is going to be a little bit of a whistle-stop tour because there's lots and lots of exciting sort of features and modules to show you. If you want to have a deeper dive session on any of these, do just get in touch and we'd be happy to organise that for you. So we're going to start with Helix, and one of the things to mention is when we first were designing Helix, we interviewed over 100 L&D professionals and showcased the capability to them. And some of the feedback that came back was that they love the fact that Helix uses authentic user data to generate skill scores for their employees, and it generates these skill scores in a completely unbiased way as well. Just by joining people's virtual meetings, it allows it to then create real unbiased skill scores for individuals. Now, the nice thing about this tool as well is that it's very much an opt-in system as well. So for the sort of remainder of me walking through these different modules, I'm going to use the example of being sort of a first-time manager within an organization, just to highlight some of the key sort of points and features. So I'm a first-time manager. I've sort of been sort of given Helix as a tool to measure my performance. I can choose which meetings Helix joins. So I could say my team meetings where I'm introducing my team or introducing myself to my team and sort of finding sort of how they're getting on. I'll invite Helix to that. But perhaps on some of the one-to-one sessions I'm having with them, I won't invite Helix, so I won't get a sort of skill score. And Helix will only provide skill scores to individuals who have access to Helix. So anyone else that's on the call isn't being evaluated at all. So what we can see on the screen here is an example of what Helix looks like when it joins a meeting. So you can see that in the bottom left corner there. Now, beyond the meeting itself, what Helix will do is it will email the user an analysis of their performance within that call straight away. So it will join the virtual meeting, transcribe it, and then it will map what happened within the meeting to the skills that's been assigned to evaluate against. So we can see here, sales and marketing weekly sync meeting that I had last week. I've got a meeting sort of analysis summary here, which we can read through. I can see that my top rated skill was communication, which is great. And it'll give me some sort of feedback around that. And then it also gives me my development opportunities as well. So I can see that my accountability score is a little bit lower. It's saying that I'm quite good at putting my hand up to sort of take on ownership of things, but less good at giving some concrete or solid timelines for doing so. So that's something that I need to work on. Now, that's great as a snapshot in terms of my top skill and my areas for development. But what I want to do is I want to see a full analysis of my performance in that call. So I click on that, and that's going to boot up the back end of Helix for me. So once again, I've got my summary of how the call went. And then I've got my list of skills that I'm actually being evaluated against. And I'll talk about sort of the back end of the platform. I'll talk about some of the admin control and how you monitor and assign skills a little bit later. But I can see I've got my accountability score here at 72%. It's given me some relative positive, relevant quotes as well. So why it's given me that score. Communication skills. I also demonstrated my results focus as well. And then there's some other scores that I didn't actually evidence enough within the virtual meeting for it to generate a score for me. So the tool itself, it doesn't hallucinate sort of data. It will only provide you a skill score if you meet the threshold for doing so. Now, what's really nice about this is, right, I'm not being accountable sort of within meetings. What can I do to sort of help with that? I can click on here, which is recommended content. And what that will do is it will surface content within your learning management system related to accountability. And I can jump straight into that and I can start learning straight away. Now, if I want to go a step further than that as well, I can click on the Coach Me button, and that's when we move into our AI agent, VeeCoach. So I'm going to click on that now, and that's going to launch up the coach. The really nice thing about this integration is it will not just launch up the agent for me to start chatting to it, it will actually draw the data directly from the skill that I've clicked on there. So I've clicked on sort of accountability, and then it's sort of, reading the transcript, reading sort of its suggestions on how I can improve it, and then directing me to learning that can sort of help address it. So these sources here is where it's drawn its data from. The really important thing with the coach that we have within the platform is that it only will draw from its knowledge bank, and its knowledge bank can be isolated to just content that you have within your LMS platform. So when it's telling me sort of, what it means to be accountable within a business, it's telling it from a perspective of your organization, because it's drawing from your own content that you're giving people access to, essentially. So I've got a couple of different sources. It won't just take me to the course, it will take me to the area of the course which is relevant. And then I've got my response here. The really nice thing about the response is it also provides citations. So as a learner, I get confidence that the advice that it's giving me is coming from a true source. And then one of the things we're always doing as L&D professionals is we always want to encourage self-directed learning. The follow-up questions here are fantastic for that, because it's going to encourage people to look wider than just the single question that they've asked or the bit of information they've seen, and find other bits of relevant content that they could also learn from as well. Now, I talked about sort of me being a first-time manager, so I'm actually just going to talk to the AI agent here and say, I'm a first-time manager. Any tips? I'm obviously very angry with the tool because I'm just typing in all caps, but hopefully it won't mind. So what it's now doing is, again, it's searching its knowledge bank, so the content that it's got access to within the LMS platform, and it's surfacing learning to me based on that ask. So again, some great advice here in terms of getting to know my team, set clear goals and expectations, embrace a learning mindset, and develop a 90-day plan. All fantastic. I can read through that, go to learning content, but what I want to do is I want to go a step further. And this is where something called capabilities comes in. Now, what capabilities are is they are tailored learning experiences that you've pre-programmed into the AI coach. And these could be things like, we've mentioned, you need to create a 90-day plan. It could be a very guided journey for how they go about creating that 90-day plan. Or one of the fantastic use cases for it is designing role play scenarios for learners. So I can have a role play here for first-time manager, and it's going to create me a scenario where I'm engaging with either my team, or maybe it's a one-to-one sort of experience with one of my team members, and I get to practice delivering my sort of leadership lessons to them. So it gives me a little bit of context as to what the scenario is. It lets me know what my objectives are, what my learning outcomes are from this. I'm going to tell it sort of what my name is. So my name is Corey, and I'm in the training industry, and there's not any specific scenarios. So I'll just give it that information, and it will feed that in. And then what it will do is then ask me for a level of difficulty that I want to jump into. So I'm happy. So proceed to the next step. And then once I've sort of completed this information, we'll start. There we go. It's going to ask me about my level of difficulty because it's a Tuesday afternoon. I'm just going to go for easy. And then hopefully beyond this, it'll tell me whether I can begin the scenario by saying begin, and when I want to end the scenario, end it by saying goodbye. So let's kick off and begin. So it's going to provide a nice bit of context. I'm in an office room. It's nicely brightly lit, which is great. My peer, it's called Alex, greets me with a warm, friendly smile. That's because I've set it to easy, or else you'd be looking very unhappy with me. And I can start the interaction whenever I like. A really nice feature within this is that we actually have voice to text as well. When doing these role play scenarios, this really brings it to life. Hi, Alex. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to have this quick meeting to introduce you to myself. And again, I've panicked there because I'm having to speak as opposed to writing it into text. So again, it just demonstrates the power of this. It really feels authentic, like I'm speaking to an individual, even though I'm just going through this process. So I'm not going to go through the whole scenario here. Essentially, I can work through this. And as I say, I can practice delivering these types of meetings in a very safe environment. Now, I've demonstrated this very much from a user perspective, but let's jump into the back end here and start looking at what this means from an L&D professional perspective. Now, what the tool will do is it will give you a holistic view of how skills are being demonstrated across your organization. There are lots of different ways that you can configure this. So you can go into individual teams, you could look at individuals' scores, or you could keep it at a higher level and look across different departments. So in this example here, we can see my skills heat map across my product team. They're all doing very, very well within the product team at the moment, it looks like. But let's say my score here at change management was down at maybe 40%. As an L&D professional, that tells me that actually we've got a real problem here with this team, and they're not going to be very open to change moving forwards. I can then take that to my senior stakeholders and go, look, I've addressed that there's this gap within the team. I want to direct some training to them. So when they do make changes moving forwards, they're going to be more receptive and they're going to come along with us on that journey. So it's moving away from being sort of, that training provider waiting for the business to come to me with sort of suggestions of content, and more I've got the data now in front of me to go, oh, there's a gap here. Let me help sort of plug that. Within the tool, we've got access to over 87 different skills that we can evaluate against. These can all be configured based on your organization culture, values, etc. And then if you don't see skills that are relevant, we can also create custom skills for you as well. Now, this is a fantastic resource for, again, identifying where those gaps are. Let's say I've found a gap around accountability within the product team here. And I don't have any training content that's relevant to help educate people. Or in this example, I've got a very dry policy document, which tells people sort of what accountability is, but whether or not people are actually going to read this through, I don't really know. This is where our VeeCreate functionality comes in. It allows you to start building out learning content in a very, very quick and easy way. So this is the back end of the platform. Asset library is where we house all of our content. I've clicked on create a course here, and that's booted us straight into the AI content authoring tool. Now, again, there is so many different sort of features and functionality I can sort of showcase with you. I'm going to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour here for you. But I can start generating lessons from scratch. I can do it via prompting. I can upload documents to this as well, and then build out content based on those documents. And that's a use case that a lot of our clients sort of use, because they might have quite dry SOP documents that they want to turn into real engaging learning content very quickly. I'm going to create our sort of accountability course here as an example. So please create a course on accountability. This is not a fantastic prompt, but it will get us started. And I do have a little bit of a Blue Peter moment as we get into it. But so I can put in my prompt there. I can also tell it a little bit about the learners, who are we speaking to? What's our sort of tone of voice internally? Is there a particular writing style that you'd like it to use? And then I could attach documents. So I could attach my accountability sort of document that I just shared to this, and it's going to draw on that as a reference for when it's creating the content itself. From here, I can determine how closely it follows the document that I shared. Do I want it to be a micro-learning course, standard or comprehensive? What level of interactivity do I want it to use? And then one other feature that I just want to talk about is the fact that you can translate courses into, I think it's over 37 different languages with a click of a button as well. So if you operate in a global team, it's a fantastic tool for getting courses out in local language as well. So once I'm happy with all the settings, I click Generate Storyboard. That's going to create a sort of overview, if you like, of the course itself, which I can then sort of go in and tweak. I'll just let that sort of load up so you can see it. And then I'll just jump straight into the course that I used exactly the same prompting for before to show you what the output looks like for this. So you can see it's generated my storyboard for me. How's it going to start? I can sort of chop and change the order of these things. I can, change the sort of the content in here. The more sort of effort you put into this, the better the output is going to be sort of when it generates a course. When I'm happy with this, I can generate a lesson, and then that's going to start building out a digital learning experience for me. So I'm going to do the Blue Peter moment now, and I'm going to click on one that I developed slightly earlier. Just to show you sort of what it can create for you. So within sort of 10 minutes max, I created this course all around accountability based on that document that I shared earlier. And hopefully you'd agree it's a bit more of an interactive experience than the PowerPoint presentation or the PDF document I shared earlier. You can theme these as well, so you can have your own branding. So any asset that's created is within sort of your own branding style. You can include logos and everything like that as well. But what I wanted to say with this is that this creates a fantastic starting point for a course for you. You still want to keep the human in the loop. You still would want to go through this and make tweaks and edits sort of yourself. But rather than starting with a blank sort of piece of paper in front of you, you've already sort of, accounted for probably about a couple of hours of work of pulling an asset together. So again, if you're wanting to go from sort of identifying a skill gap, realizing you don't really have the right sort of learning in place to be able to address it, and then creating a fantastic piece of digital learning that's interactive, that's going to educate people on that skill, this is the tool to do that. And I should say there's lots and lots of different sort of interactions sort of that we can do in here, scenarios. Let me just sort of showcase this one. Drag and drop sort of interactions as well. So is it being accountable or not accountable? Hiding errors for incomplete work. I'm going to say that's unaccountable. Loads and loads of different sort of elements that you can use here. The outputs can be SCORM content, it could be PDFs, it could be navigatable links, so web links as well, completely customizable. And if you use it in conjunction with the hub, rather than needing to download it and re-upload it into the LMS platform, I click on home and automatically I've got an asset there which I can send out to my people to use. Now, conscious of time, and we want to leave a little bit of time for a Q&A here. So what I'll do is I'll hand back over to Philip to continue the conversation and hopefully go to a Q&A once we've done a bit of a recap. Philip, over to you.
Thank you, Corey. So let's regroup. We realise we've covered a lot of ground to demonstrate and bring you up to speed on the connected ecosystem. We started with the pressures L&D faces, really not to do more, but to prove more. And what I hope we've shown you today is a different approach so that you can see what is happening in real work. You can reinforce skills in the moment, and you can respond as the changes, as needs change in VeeCreate, which is what we demonstrated and what Corey demonstrated at the end. Learning stops being in silos, learning stops being separated from performance, and it becomes that continuous support system rather than a series of one-off moments, sort of one-off snapshots in time. And that really changes the conversation L&D can have internally. You're no longer on the back foot. You're no longer defending learning plans, defending budgets, reporting completion rates. You can be on the front foot. You can have those informed conversations about progress. And perhaps most importantly, it moves you from being a tacticianer, an executor of tasks, really to becoming that strategic business partner, because you've built confidence at the executive level. It gives you a place at the table because you're making decisions using data rather than gut feel. So if you look to put in place a connective ecosystem in 2026, This puts L&D inside your organization in a very different position. You become clear on where skills are strong, you become confident about where to intervene, and you're equipped with evidence, not instinct, not gut feel, as I've mentioned. And this really is what it means for L&D into next year to become the hero that you deserve to be inside your respective organizations. So as we look to wrap things up, if you do have any additional questions, now is your chance to put them in the comments, and we'll work through as many of them as we can. And if you'd like to explore anything that we've said further, there's a QR code there that you can scan, and that will be alive as well post the meeting. If you're watching, that will take you to a booking page, and you can book a follow-on conversation with the wider team to pick up your respective use cases and requirements. And so hopefully things have sparked an interest to explore the conversation further. It leaves me to say thank you for joining today, and really thank you for all the work that you've done in L&D. We're a hard-working bunch, and hopefully what we've shown you today shows that 2026 you have the opportunity, as I said, to be an even better hero inside your respective organizations. Thank you very much. And I'll open up, leave a final few moments for any remaining questions. I think we've had a couple of technical issues, so forgive me if questions have not come through. But we'll leave the chat open at the end of this as we leave the stage, if you will. So please do hang around if you want to ask any questions, and Kaylee, George, and James will be on hand to answer those. So enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and look forward to seeing you in a future webinar potentially, or a future meeting either the rest of the year or in 2026. Take care.